When the downtown lights start to come out at night, we go insane, we go insane. And when I arrive, I start to lose my mind. I go insane, I go insane. Cause they told me you take too much. Yeah, I sure do, so I can feel that now. If they only knew how this was, yeah, they would too, just to feel that now. Cause I ain't got no friends, I ain't got nobody. All I got ahead is a moonlit road. Nobody, all I got ahead is a moonlit road. When the downtown lights start to come out at night, we go insane, we go insane. And when I arrive, I start to lose my mind. I go insane, I go insane. They told me you, cause they told me you, they told me you, I can feel that now. Cause they told me you, cause they told me you, they told me you, I can feel that now. Cause I ain't got no friends, I ain't got nobody. All I got ahead is a moonlit road.
From beneath the sand, place can take me across, seems so far away. Across this universe, she lives another day. I know the reason she takes. I know the reason she's so far away. I know the reason she takes. She's so far away.
Meant to be together, didn't care what others said. We were meant to be forever. I've been dreaming about this moment. I can barely breathe. Feel like I've been drowning. Pulling me to the ground, tears streaming down my face. My chest hurts, I can't escape. There's no going back now. Will you miss me when I'm gone? Will you think of me when you're all alone? Your voice is calling me, but it seems so far away. Every word you ever said, every feeling that you gave. Why did you let go? 'Cause I know that this is hard, but it makes me feel so down. Can we turn it all around? that I'm gone, will you think of me when you're all alone?
Should be it. I hope the music is not too loud. Finally, I managed to hit the button on the Stream Deck. I usually play with the knobs. So, hi everybody, nice seeing you. Mark, we had 31 degrees yesterday and we have 14 degrees today. So, from super hot, I almost had to turn my heating at home today. But yeah, still. So let's see who's here. Mark, okay. Super Sidewinder, yeah. I didn't have late breakfast. I had something at 6 a.m. because I was most of the night up. So early breakfast, gummy bears and things like that. TNT Druid, nice seeing you. By the way, yeah, Johnny just posted the link. He made a great simple project with the moon lamp. Is it better now? Is it better now? Whoa, too high. Okay, this should be probably okay. Hi, Stefan. So Johnny posted the link to the Twitter. He made a project with the old moon lamp, the ESP home, and the Node-RED. And it automatically changes the light depending on the moon phase. So, hi, Manuel. Hi, Spain. By the way, why did you use Node-RED? You could probably do the same thing from within the Home Assistant directly without Node-RED. Just wondering because I tried to avoid it, as I never had time to learn it. Hi, Victor. Nice seeing you. So yeah, let me show you. As you can see on your screen, but I cannot see it on my screen. I think you can see this one. So yeah, if I click on my channel here, go to attributes. So this last URL is for the live and channel is live, which did trigger for me this time when I went live. But if we go to my main setup, I think it's this one here. Yep. Yeah, as you can see, I have no sensors available, which is really weird. Where are the other ones? I think here. So none of the channels for me on my main setup is loading. Previously, before I recorded the video, I only had one channel here and everything worked okay. So I opened today on GitHub issue in regard to that, posted my debug logs, which are empty, and hope that I'll have some kind of update, because I'm not the only one who has this issue, and I was trying to disable various components and I don't know why. So on my main setup, the YouTube HSCS component that used to work is not working anymore, but on my recording setup it just works. Okay, so today, oh yeah, and also let's not forget the ritual. This is already 10th or 15th stream where we have stream sponsor. As always, I'm just kidding. Once again, Spar S budget. This one we will be drinking Tutti Frutti because I like the flavor. Yeah, I use previously it was when I was doing streams, I had problem because there are some things that I probably shouldn't show up in this main setup. So I had my main setup on dark mode and I had my recording setup on light mode or white mode. And the problem is that this dark mode is much better for recording. So whenever I was recording videos, there were issues with the text. You cannot read the text. You could not read the text. If I put titles, there are problems with the titles. So I just changed and now use everywhere dark mode. I like it. I like it much better. And it's not that glaring. This one here, I think it's just internal. It's internal one. Let's look at it. It's the mold graph. Yeah, it's history graph. It's internal internal Home Assistant graph that allows you to show the historical values. By the way, thanks to everybody who commented on the last video where I was talking about a couple of components or HSCS components. I'm really glad because that allowed me to also rediscover some of the HS components that I don't use, but probably I should have a look at them. And one of them is everything looks different today. Where is it? This is my recording setup. No, you can see my recording setup. I cannot see my recording setup. Okay, so here it is. Probably nobody will notice one thing new, but I've been playing with something and I really hope to make a video on it. And that's this one here, Alarmo. So it's a HACS integration, and I really would like to thank for the comment because the comment pointed me into that direction. So I installed it, I played a bit, and I really like it. I will be adding much more sensors to it, and when I finish up with everything, I will definitely be doing a video, because this is not you can DIY your alarm. This is really, I would call it like alarm system, where you just pick up the sensors, select if they are always armed, if they are armed when you are away or when you are home and things like that. Then you do some automations inside of it, and it's working really nicely. As I said, I've just been playing for a couple of days now, so these are the only sensors I've added for now. For example, this night mode means that it's how it's called, armed and night mode, meaning that the alarm is armed but you are at your house, and some of the sensors get triggered, some of the internal sensors don't get triggered, and things like that. So it's really nice HSCS component, and it ties in with the alarm panel that is part of the Home Assistant, so you can arm it, disarm it from here. And of course, as this is just a test, where is it? Codes. I can, for example, say to arm it, I need to use pin code, and then in the panel here, the pin code panel would also be displayed. So it's a nice, especially, for example, you have a tablet or something with touchscreen where you can use this to arm and disarm the system. And why I said that, because when we were talking about graphs, somebody also mentioned how it's called. Nope. How it's called? Plotty graph card, which I've seen, but when I've seen just this page, I was like, nah, it doesn't look anything that spectacular. So I decided I didn't check the rest of the repository, but it really looks great. You can do a lot of things, and some of the things that I currently miss that I didn't miss previously was this ability to move, zoom in, zoom out, and things like that. So I will also be playing a little bit more about this Plotly graph card. Is there a way to print shopping list to your thermal print project? Good question. Well, in theory, it could be possible, but thermal printer project is using MQTT, so you would have to transfer the shopping list to the MQTT. I didn't even try. I should probably look into that, but I didn't even try. Out of box, no, because I'm not sure if you can do anything with the... You can pull the values from the... Oh, by the way, I'm on... this one is beta 2 of the 2022.6 version, so as you can see, things look a little bit different. So if you see any differences between what you're used to, this is the latest beta, which will be available next week on Wednesday. So states, I don't think that you can get... Now, you cannot get anything here. You can only use services to add something. I would have to check the documentation, but I don't think that you can do that easily from the out of box. I think that the only way probably that you can do it is that at the same time you trigger to add something on the shopping list that you printed, which is bad. Then you wouldn't be able to use printer for anything else. It would just be like, you know, each time you add something on the shopping list, it would print that single line. Its own card. I didn't let me check it. Alarm card. Let's see it. Countdown timer, diagnostic messages, arming options, card customizations. Okay. Keep it visible, button scale. Okay, you can increase. Use clear icon, show messages, states. Yeah, I will have to look at it. It looks a little bit that you have a little bit more options for it to use it. I like this countdown here, which I don't think that you have that countdown on the original Home Assistant card. Mark Watt. Who's that Mark Watt? I only know a guy called Matt Work. I don't know Mark Watt. I've seen that he posted a video on that. I don't think that I've watched that one. I will have a look at it. If it's good, I will definitely not be doing any video of my own. Yeah. Good question, Jeff. And let's go to beta changes, calendar trigger offsets. If you are talking about this one. Offsets can be helpful for using automations that it allows, for example, trigger notification evening before trash day, birthday reminder, week earlier. I still haven't played with calendar. I've given up on calendar. I'm using in my setup. So some of automations I have are using calendar, but when I started using it, I hated that I had to create calendar, for example. For each of my kids, I had to create a separate calendar. I couldn't use the entity name to pull in advance some of the data, because the calendar would always show up just the next event. So that's why I use it, but I use it only for school. So school calendar, because that activity is once a day, or it has beginning and end each day. And it was easy for me to set up. So I never ever tried using it with some advanced stuff. But we had called, that oh, Alen, pozdrav, kolega. But there is we talked a little bit more about it, and the question on scheduling did pop up. So the question was, will Home Assistant ever had scheduling system inside itself that could partially rely on the calendar, or even possibly have embedded calendar? And short answer is no, at least not at this time, because it's much more complex than it seems at first. And of course, one of the typical requests or typical ideas for the calendar is recurring events. So what, for example, if you want to change only one event, current event or next event, so how do you handle that? So that's why, for example, at this point there is no internal scheduling or calendar in Home Assistant. Countdown. So, have you played around? No, ES Presence, I haven't. No, I haven't. I don't know why. When I started with Home Assistant, long before I even started with YouTube channel, I was playing with Bluetooth, and at that time the BLE was probably the only thing that you can do, that you can use for some kind of room presence detection or whatever, although it was not that precise. And I was so frustrated with it that I said that I will never even try to play with it. I see that I know that ES Presence now has that a lot of people have been either recording videos or doing projects with ES Presence, but I haven't even tried it so far. Always on categories of the water leak. Yeah, Mark, as I said, I just started playing on my recording setup, which is also a problem because it has a limited set of devices. I have in my drawer here, I think 2 more motion sensors and 2 more door window sensors. So I will be adding a little bit more and see if I can get it to do what I wanted to do. And by the way, spoilers or not, I just got camera from Reolink. So I got Reolink 811A camera. And as we speak, it is currently recording, or it is positioned and recording or streaming my 3D printer. I will be using this Reolink 811A, which has people and vehicle detection, to replace my current 410 camera, which died, by the way. And this one also has alarm, so I will be using the built-in speaker on Reolink camera as an alarm for the apartment, which is something that I look forward to play. So I probably will release a video about that camera and those some advanced features, because, you know, camera is a camera. I really do like Reolink camera, not just because they sent me this one, but out of dozen cameras that I tried, they really have good ratio of the quality and price. And also they are not part of the Hikvision group, which means that most of the issues people have with Hikvision and similar cameras or OEM cameras based on them, these ones don't have. And I think that the hookup created a couple of videos on Reolink, and I think that even last week he released video that there is a new firmware which allows you to use some of the Reolink cameras that had issues with Blue Iris, you can now use with Blue Iris. So I will be playing with those, let's call it like extended functionalities, for example, two-way talk, alarm functionality, person detection, embedding that in Home Assistant, adding it probably to alarm and things like that. So I hope that it will be interesting video. Teme, nice seeing you. Hi, welcome. Yeah, yeah, Pegu. Problem is that we have, I don't know if you're on Discord server. For example, this issue with the YouTube integration in HACS, which I recorded video, which previously worked great for me, which I have set up on my recording setup. It's working great. It's tracking 9-10 people, and then on my setup, on my main setup, it simply doesn't work. Out of 30-40 reboots that I make, it shows up only once, and it stops working after 3 days. On my recording setup, it works 100% all the time, every time. I've turned on debugging, and you see in the log file that this component is loading, for example, for BeardedTinker, and the next line is component failed to load and just dash, no error, no anything. And it was really frustrating to spend a couple of evenings with the you know, constantly restarting, changing, tweaking, trying, verifying each and every channel ID, and it simply doesn't work. And yet I copy those same exact files to my recording setup and everything works. And it's like, how? Why? So I rage quit it. And this, I think that I've even lowered the resolution here a bit. And code, yeah, this is even lower resolution because I was playing with it. The problem is that between the camera and the print there is a plastic door, so it has sometimes problem with the focus. So I was playing with the camera resolution just to see if this, I still have, yeah, default username and no password. Okay, great security. So since there is a plastic transparent door, it has problem with focus, which is of course normal because at one point there was not enough light, and it tried also to, come on, it needs to reboot. I don't know why it needs to reboot to change the so this is, yeah, this is terrible now because you have a lot of ghosting from the door of the this plastic door in front of the camera. And there in the left corner you can see additional camera I have. This is D-Link camera, which was previously outside of my apartment, and I replaced it with Reolink 410 camera, and this one is only 720p, but it's excellent camera, and I had it for 3, 4, 5 years and it's still working, and it's really great. It is outdoor, it should be watertight, but it's not vandal proof, it's just pure plastic, but it's still great camera. So yeah, that's why I changed the resolution from 2160 to 1410. It will now reboot once again. What am I printing? I'm still printing some parts. Oh yeah, I don't have anything special to talk today, so we'll be talking about a lot of whatever you want to talk. I have a couple of ideas for my future projects. I want to share a couple of things with you, and I'm printing this box here. Let me just change the yeah, I did press wrong button. No more pressing buttons for me. Let me change it here. So this should be this here, and overhead. Yeah. So I'm printing parts for the spool holders for the printer. It's like, you know, robots printing robots. I'm currently printing all the red parts. I'm still missing here one component, so this really is now done. It's not fitted completely. Let me show you. So there is a bearing still missing here, and it needs to be here for the easy rotation of this buffer spool. So I'm printing all the accent color parts. So everything you see red on this piece here, I'm doing it. And by the way, let me just put that back inside. This one is finished. I still need to drill a hole here. And I don't know if you can notice here, there is a sensor inside. So the original project that I showcased, I think in either last stream or somewhere, is using, you know, big round temperature and humidity sensors, but not smart ones, you know, just displays that show you, and you drill a hole and insert it here in the box. And instead of that, of course, I decided to go with the Zigbee sensor. Yeah, Pegu, I hope that I pronounced your nickname correct. Thank you for becoming a YouTube channel member. I have to remember what's called. So yeah, I'm currently. I have printed everything for 3 of those boxes, and I'll repeat, although I did mention that dozen of times. This is used to keep filament dry, so also some bags of, how it's called, it's not salt, it's whatever. It is used to keep the filament dry, and it also is used for filament changers or multi-material prints, so that's why it has this buffer, and that's why it has this humidity sensor inside. Silica, yeah, right, Alan, you're right. So that's one of the things I've been working on, printing, buying parts, and I'm also done. You know, I know that I will have for the beginning 3 of those boxes. I already have 6 boxes, so I'm just now printing all the parts necessary to get all 6 boxes up and running. And I went out and I bought screws and all the other parts that are necessary for 6 boxes. And when I was ordering some parts from China, those pressure couplers or whatever they are called, I by mistake ordered 5, and each of the boxes needs 3, so I need 15 in total. 50, I don't know how to count. 18 in total, and I only bought 5. So yeah, I've just reordered them. Bearings will be probably here in next week and a half. It will take some time. Yeah, do not eat stuff. Yeah, do not eat bags. That's right. Victor, no, I've completely switched to Clipper. I even so this. Let me not kill stream once again. This screen here. So I've completely moved to Clipper. This printer was built from scratch with Clipper, and my previous printer, which is Ender 3 Pro, it has been converted to Clipper, and I really love. And I don't want to mess something up, because you can easily also mess something up. But for example, if I want to update something or update to a newer version, you don't have to recompile anything as with Cluster. Also, yeah, I know that you can use Octoprint also with Clipper, but most people use Octoprint with Merlin. For example, you can go with here and change, I don't know, rotation distance, voltage, hold current. I can increase or decrease. Just press save and it would automatically be uploaded to printer without needing to recompile the firmware. If I want to update anything, so there is, for example, new release of Fluid, and hi Pedro, who is also maintaining Fluid. For example, I can just check for the update. If there is update, I click on update, it will just download, it would install it, and in less than a minute I would have the latest version already up and running without any need to recompile anything. So I really love Clipper, and I really love Fluid, and I really love Pedro because he the Fluid was about to be become obsolete because there was no maintainer, and Pedro and a couple of guys jumped in, so they are now doing maintenance or development or bug fixes for Fluid. So yeah. Not while I'm printing. By the way, I did try that once, and yeah, I will also not show you. Don't look at my extruder temperature. I have loose wire somewhere, so I already had a couple of failed prints because you know how it's called. It's called how it's called. It's called. There is a word for that. It's panic. Oh, panic. The extruder is not heating up. Blah 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 something, and you can see on the back there are a lot of wires, and while I was opening and closing, and I would say either damaged wire or it's just not seated correctly. So sometimes I get spikes, just a couple of minutes it goes up down, or if it really fails, it goes either overshoots the temperature and that automatically triggers the kill switch, or it falls down, which also automatically triggers the kill switch. So yeah, it's printing nicely now. H integration for Clipper. There is no official integration, but there is no issue in having. Let me just switch the screen. Switch the screen to my main setup. Just a second. Come on. So this is my main Home Assistant. Here you can see the current image from the Raspberry Pi. This is the G-code preview. I'm using Shelly to power on, off, and track the power consumption of the printer. These are current states. I have also the LED strips. So here on top there are two LED strips which I can control from Home Assistant, and I've shown you previously in this box there is a Tuya temperature and humidity sensor. So I have three boxes, 1, 2, and 3, or 0, 1, and 2. Yeah. Yes, definitely. I don't know. Let me switch the screen. Oh, by the way, there is also one new thing. I don't know if you will be. Let me just switch the system, and I'll try to show you one additional change in a June version of Home Assistant. Where are you? So, nope, you will not see it here. I don't know if you can see this red thing at the bottom here. Yeah, it's not red. That red box or red square, which is really not red, it's orange. But since this filament here is ultra red, and I also have cold white lights, it really just looks red. So that is the Hall sensor. It's not real Hall sensor. It is a type of the Hall sensor. It is measuring distance between the bed and head of the printer or tool head. It approaches. It's a metal detector, so it detects changes in the magnetic field, and when it approaches the bed, it detects it and it does calibration by that. I think that currently. What am I doing here? Yeah, that's one here. I think that currently, where is it? Tune. So my bed looks like this. So I have variance between all the points. On each and every print I do 4x4 grid. There is 0.087 or somewhere close to 0.09 millimeters deviation. So if you look at the height of the layer, it's 0.1, I think. Yeah, that's okay. I'm pretty happy with it. There are some worse beds than this one here. And yes, the Clipper does run on the separate Pi. Yeah. Inductive sensor. Dun-dun-dun. Capacitive sensor. I'm thinking of I'm thinking of changing this. I have all the parts to go to the clicky probe, and clicky probe is pure mechanical probe. So this is in my test system. Yeah, I think I even showed this in the 2022.4 release when they updated Gouge, or was it 5? So I'm thinking about changing it to the clicky probe. Clicky probe is using the Omron switch, and it just touches the bed. And since you know the dimensions of the switch or this pin that goes out, you can create even better precision with it than with the inductive probe. Yeah, I'm not printing, Larry. I'm just printing on. I'm not using glass on the printer, so all my beds or plates are some type of metal, so I don't have problem with that. So yeah. Okay, so we've talked about this. I've mentioned this camera. I don't. Victor, I don't. So the problem is that I need one Pi. I wanted to get my hand on the Pi 02. There is no way. I'm using AirPi locator, and I've been tracking it the last couple of weeks. And in Europe, you only have this one here. For 30 euros, you can get Raspberry Pi 3 Model A. Same from Switzerland, and from the US, you can get compute module for 1 gig RAM, no MC, no Wi-Fi. I've been tracking this page, looking at it. I have alerts on the Twitter account from the AirPi locator. And by the way, if anybody doesn't know it, I will just post a link also in the comments. So yeah, that's the link I've been refreshing, I don't know, dozens of times a day, but no luck. I still have my Ender 3 here, which has Raspberry Pi 3B, that if I need at the end I can salvage the board, and I have a Raspad here in the drawer, which is a Raspberry Pi 4, the lower end in terms of memory model, but I can use that. I will be receiving in next couple of days from the same company that created those Raspads a touchscreen, and I really wanted to try if I can, instead of using Raspberry Pi 4, use Raspberry Pi 2.0, create on it tablet mode browser for the Home Assistant. And since it's just a screen with the acrylic housing, which you do not have to use, a housing is more for protection of the electronics than the housing itself. I wanted to create also some kind of a case for it that you can print and either embed in wall if you have drywall, or put on the wall to have touch screen that is powered through Raspberry Pi 2W, because 2W is much cheaper, but then again, no way to get your hands on any of that. So that's why probably my video in regard to that will also be a bit late. Yeah, unfortunately. Okay, let me just switch screens. I have two systems running on two different Synologies and two systems running on two different Raspberry Pis. I previously had Intel NUC that was running Proxmox, where I had both virtual machine and Docker, and the vent died and I couldn't open it up because I needed some special tools for that to completely remove it out of the case. So I did it 10 days ago. I've managed to find the replacement vent, so cooler and replacement battery. I ordered them, so if I get them, I will then have one additional Intel NUC as a test system or something. I will probably once again put Proxmox there. TNT Druid. How did you manage to do that? One of the most frequent searches I have for the last 2-3 weeks is Raspberry Pis, and I can never ever find anywhere anything that I want to buy. I think that on the Amazon Germany, I found Raspberry Pi 4, 2 gigs RAM for 120 euros plus shipping. And that was like, no, I would rather wait. So yeah, I didn't get it. Dell Micro. Yeah, it really all depends. As I said, I will jinx now with what I'm saying. I know that I will jinx now, and my Home Assistant, the one running on Raspberry Pi 3B, has been running for the last 3+ years. So 3+ years out of same SSD card. You know, people will always tell you don't use SSD card. Yeah, sure, I did pull my backup a couple of days ago because I've started to experience some weird restarts, and those weird restarts I think are related to the possibility that SD card is finally dying. But I think that SD card has been now working in the Raspberry Pi 3 for Home Assistant, unoptimized database, blah blah blah, more than 3 years. So there are really great devices that you can run Home Assistant on. It also depends on what you will be using it for. I would, for example, if there wouldn't be any issue with the Raspberry Pis, I would still recommend Raspberry Pi 3 as a primary system for the starting system for Home Assistant. But since you cannot get it or the price for it is so high, I would definitely recommend that you go for either used PC, micro PC, mini servers, things like that can either directly run, or you can run Proxmox on them and then put it in the virtual machine and in parallel run whatever you want to run. Delphi client, which is pretty much the same as micro PC. Yeah, if it's not the old type of thing, clients that have only network card and nothing except the network card and they cannot be boot locally, of course anything client would be great. It's more than enough. If you don't go for Blue Iris, FreeGate, if you don't do some weird stuff, most of the hardware will be more than enough for anything that you should run. Johnny, Odroid is, I think, still great option. I still haven't. I wouldn't call myself cheap, but I just couldn't order that yellow. Just a second. So I simply don't. The hardware is great. We were talking. We had last. So 2 days ago on the Wednesday. Each month we now have calls creators. The list, by the way, has expanded. So it's not 6, 8, 10 of us anymore. It's like 20, 25 or even more. And we have calls with the devs of the Home Assistant, and we were talking about some of the changes that will be brought in version 6, but you at the end will not see anything. It's more of underlying things that are not visible but greatly impact. So, for example, there will be a major overhaul of the hardware part of the Home Assistant in terms of software that is working on hardware, and they will be creating internally, let me try to simplify it, not images, like not drivers, but for example it would detect that you are running yellow, and it would then detect that you are running yellow with the Zigbee or Z-Wave support or embedded Zigbee support, so it would probably be able also to flash the latest firmware on it and things like that. So that part of the yellow is great because you have control of both how the final hardware will look and all the software layers on top of that. On the other hand, if you are average user, there are a lot of other things that you can get or already have, maybe, that will give you similar results. Linux Docker setup. Different, it's definitely. Let me show you, by the way, let's see my main setup once again. I have to be careful with my main setup. The number one reason why, for example, some of the streams that have been held are never released to the public is I show something that I shouldn't. And editing streams on YouTube is... No, I'm not doing it anymore. So, maximum temperature 73 and the minimum temperature 60. And let's see if I can pull something from previously. By the way, history and logbook or logbook itself will definitely work much better in the version 6. And also it allows you to have automatic updates on future states. For example, if you have log card shows you what happened because it's log card. It's fixed point. Something did already happen. But now it will allow you to refresh that. Even if something happens while the log card is available, it will allow you to see it in the device or entity, for that device or entity. Okay. Yeah, 80 degrees. Same was for the... How it's called? It's a different name. This one here. Yeah. The problem is the Synology fans are spinning 100%, but it's in a cupboard, and this cupboard isn't usually open, and my wife every day couple of times closes it, and sometimes I forget to reopen it, and I can have temperature go up to 85 degrees of the equipment. And what is strange is that I do not have any emergency shutdowns of the Synology, which is also very bad because it just keeps on working on higher temperatures. It just keeps on working at higher temperatures, which can result in hardware failure. HDMI. But you don't need... if you are working, you can work headless. You can use remote connection. You can do everything. If you are working with the Linux, you can do everything with the terminal to install, and then use web interface to configure. I know that that's the one of the issues I was having is using headless Home Assistant OS is headless, meaning that it is not intended to have any kind of a display interface by itself directly. So if you put it directly on the hardware, that can be is it Adele? Hi Siegfried. Yeah. Same thing, for example, for the Proxmox. When I was installing Proxmox, I needed monitor for 2 minutes until I started the installation process, and everything else was done via the terminal or web page. So I still have. Here is the Raspad. So this is the Raspberry Pi tablet, Raspad 3. I had problem with it because my idea was to have. I did record video, and there is video on that. It's possible to do it, but it also something has broken in terms of that weird installation I did. The idea was to use full Raspberry Pi image on this tablet and then install Home Assistant supervised on it and use same device as a tablet to control Home Assistant, but also as a host for Home Assistant. So you can have battery powered mobile Raspberry Pad Home Assistant / and yeah. They should be okay. They should be really okay. Yeah. All SSH. Yeah, I agree. You really do not need anything. SSH is... yeah. There are a couple of things that you can, of course, you must, of course, be careful. For example, not cut yourself a connection, especially if those servers or Raspberry Pis or whatever are located somewhere far, far away. And no, I'm not telling that from my experience. I would never, for example, do something like on a server that is 40 kilometers in the middle of the night, play with the firewall settings and, block all the traffic because, I'm not that dumb. If the Raspberry Pis, of course, are at home, it's much easier. If you change firewall rules, no tool can help you. But that's why I also now always have at least 2 routes how I can approach some of the systems, just to avoid the need to go somewhere and do something. Yeah. I've just sold to one of my clients that likes to buy used equipment, NetApp storage, full of drives, still working, but it's 7 years old now, and also blade chassis with the 2 blade servers, controller and everything for something that you probably spend more on your PCs. So for a reasonable amount of money you can really find nice stuff somewhere. So yeah. I think I got my Intel NUC that I have here was a demo unit somewhere, which was, going from one client to the other client or whatever, and it spent a year and a half or 2 years traveling around, and they were just selling it for peanuts because they needed to sell it for something, so I bought it. The same thing. Oh, you did? Yeah. Then you know who the client is. Okay. But you can really find good deals. For example, the Surface Pro 4 that I showed on one of my previous streams, that was my my Surface that I bought, I also bought it for something like 200 euros, I think. It was the warranty on the device is 2 years, and device was old 1 year and 9 months. So I had only 3 more months of the warranty left, and it was demo unit. So it was once again traveling from our client to client, and it was then lying in the box for a long time. We couldn't sell it to clients because it's used. We don't sell used equipment usually. So I ended up buying it for 200 euros. So I got Surface Pro 4 for peanuts. Siegfried, way to go. Way to go. I like those things. I like those things. Yeah. Yeah, that can happen. That can happen. Yeah. Unfortunately, yeah. But they'll think client for 55 on eBay, it runs consistent, OS look faster than Pike. Yeah, I agree. I agree. I've talked about it a couple of times, but my reason is we live in an apartment and I don't have space. My desk here is filled with junk, really with junk. All the drawers are filled. I have a toolbox sitting here, couple of boxes with parts. So any crevice in the apartment is filled to the brim, and I had very little and very limited space where I had to keep the networking equipment, Synology, because we use Synology as a media center, and also as a backup device for the family, and also as a photo backup device for the family. And I also have cameras, already had prior to Home Assistant cameras hooked up to that. So I know that I had to have UPS, I had to have router, I had to have switch because I also have wiring in the apartment. There was a Synology, there was media converter, so media converter, router, switch, and when I started playing with Raspberry Pi it was okay, but I already started to outgrow the version 3 of the Raspberry Pi, which was of course less RAM and a slower CPU. A Raspberry Pi 4 at the time was not available, so I decided to go with the Synology and run it on a Docker because it's really nice. Okay, it really runs okay. I didn't have any issue with it. Later on, I moved it to the virtual machine, and it doesn't occupy any more space than all the other equipment occupied it previously. Sure, now I have two Synology devices, one next to the other, the old one which previously ran and the new one that is now my main setup. But as I said, I'm really trying to not recycle but reuse to maximize what I have. I always remember when I was doing some trainings for the VMware when it was starting, and God knows whatever is the reason why virtualization started in the first place. You had bunch of equipment in data centers, bunch of servers, and I know that from how my clients had, that were bought for specific purpose, and that purpose happened only once a month or 2 days a month or once a year even. So they were preparing it for they were buying maximum capacity that would be needed only at some key dates, for example, for the bank's end of year or end of month or something. And you had servers and equipment that was working with only 1, 2, 3% of CPU usage. It would be using power, it would be using space, it would be wearing out itself, both the mechanical parts but also the electronics. I don't know if you've seen that article. It's a great article. I didn't even think about it, but it shows you the a decrease in the CPU speed, computational speed, in the time period based on how long has it been running and the conditions it has been running on. For example, if it has been properly cooled, it is slowly decreasing its capacity or ability to process data. But if it was not cooled properly, it starts to sharply decrease, and you can get after 5 years, for example, 20% less or something like that of the original power that CPU had. So so guys were wasting all that energy, money, hardware, etc., and that's why the virtualization started. So okay, listen, this is a computer, this is not a person. We cannot function 100% of the time with 100% of the capacity. People need to rest. Processors, hard drives don't. They are designed to work at peak capacity, or okay, not maybe peak, but let's say 70% or 80%. And that's why I don't have problem with stacking a lot of things on my Synology, because it's still at around 40-45% of memory and 40-45% of the CPU used. I still have a lot of room to grow, and that's why I didn't go for other devices. Sorry, I'm just blah 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 blah. Raspberry Pi is really great thing for quick, dirty solutions that can be, that can last for years. For example, if I would now do the Edgard, I would do it on Raspberry Pi. And it would be much easier and much simpler to do it on the Raspberry Pi than add on in Home Assistant or in Docker container or anything. And also it would be much easier for me to configure the network. If I, for example, just buy Raspberry Pi 0W or 0W, put image for the Edgard on it, slam it into the network, reconfigure my network how it does DNS resolve and things like that, it would be much faster than potential problems I can have with running it on Docker or running it as add-on, how the device approach it, blah blah blah. So yeah, Raspberry Pi is really great for those kind of things. And and when we are on that subject, let me just check something. Print is almost done. Just a second. So I've been approached by Seed Studio. They have 3 E's. And no, not this one. And they want to send me this, which is great device. This one is even better, and I would really love to get my hands on this one, or even this one, which is really Raspberry Pi at the end, or has the CPU RP2040. But this BLE Sense has the capability, it has embedded speech recognition, or can be used with their tools to do speech recognition for wake up words and things like that. And it would be a great thing to play with. But I really want to avoid any projects that would extend out of current Home Assistant UI. So for example, this one would need once again to go back to Arduino. If I create video with Arduino, then I will probably create something with today's versions of the libraries, and tomorrow's versions will have something different. It would not work. So that's why I really would like to avoid it. I would love for this to work with the ESP Home, but unfortunately at this point ESP Home doesn't support it. There is a fork of ESP Home that does work with this NRF 52840. And it allows you to do similar things like ESP Home with this one, but it's fork. Once again, if I start recording videos with that, then once again people will have problems with installation, people will have problems with something, and really I'm trying to simplify life for future me, and that's why I'm not sure if I will tell them to send me This one BLE version is great for, it can be used for proximity things because it's a BLE version. But yeah, if anybody has any good ideas on why to use this one, what else? Oh, who did it? I think I may be wrong here. I think that Jeff from Slacker Lab or Automate Your Life or both. I think that Jeff was the first one. Maybe it was somebody from US or Canada who, let me just check here. Let's see here. Test. Yeah, it was Slacker Labs. Slow. I will copy the link and post it in the comment section. With I'm not good at this. I'm new at this. Sorry. Yeah, Larry, the only thing I know that I could do currently is 3D print cases for them, and they have really nice cases, but I don't know what I would put on that and for what I would use, except maybe for ES Presence. Or did you print some cases? I'm using ESP. Yeah, ESP32s are much easier to use because you have a lot more options on what you can put on that board, and it's I wouldn't say embedded in Home Assistant, but you have a lot of ways on how you can get it in Home Assistant. Either you can create your own code with Arduino, taskmodize it, ESP Home, whatever. So there are a couple of ways on how you can approach and do the project with it. I'm not sure if I like that one. So Slacker Labs had video. This is smart blinds from Third Reality. Okay, they approached a couple of us, I think, everything smart home. So Luis was approached and I was approached because we were commenting on that. They're currently not selling blinds in the EU, but this is something that, as I mentioned, I don't have any curtains, and that's why I really don't care if, for example, Switchbot or any other company approaches me and sends me smart curtains, because I don't have a single curtain in the apartment. But blinds are something that I do have, and this is my pain that I want to resolve. We currently have manual blinds. We hate them. My wife wanted me to change them, but we couldn't find the ones that do what we have, that are minimal in terms of obstruction of view when they're up and things like that. So I will probably be getting one from the Third Reality. And while I mentioned a Switchbot, they will be sending me their lock. So they have released around New Year a lock in Japan. And I did talk then with them about that. About locks. I like locks and the idea of smart lock. I have Nuki, and Nuki is, if we ignore the fact that unfortunately already 2 times it unglued itself, and that one time I did have to break in my apartment through the window. It's really working great. The issue I have with the lock is something that if you have different door type, different keyhole, you wouldn't have. But unfortunately, my door, as is, the way I installed it, the type of the lock I selected, has created me this sticky situation or non-sticky situation. And I did spend, I would say, a year searching for a lock that I want. I want a lock that can be retrofitted. I want a lock that wouldn't have physical impact on door. I want to be able to choose my own type of the key, because key is still something important, because if something fails, you need to use the key. And it had to be possible to integrate it inside Home Assistant. I know that, I don't know with whom, we had a chat about you have to have, when you're buying devices, does integration with Home Assistant impact your buying decisions? So for example, if you would have two products that do almost the same thing, this has a bit more functionality, but it's standalone, you can do nothing with it. And this one has a little bit less functionality, but you can integrate it with Home Assistant. So the question is, with which one would you go? I would go with Home Assistant version, because people hate my video on SwitchBot, and I did it on purpose. So SwitchBot really allows you to control most of the devices locally. I apologize. So most of the devices can be controlled locally via the BLE, because their own gateway is really Bluetooth gateway. And there are a couple of great videos. A lot of people has created videos about that. And I decided to go the other route. There was no video on how you can use the API, public API, because SwitchBot also has, if you're using their service, they have their own servers in Hong Kong, because they are from Hong Kong. And they have great documentation, developer documentation. They have public API, and you can integrate it in Home Assistant via the API. So I prefer local control, but for purpose of this video, I was testing two things. First of all, if this really works or not, and second, this was the first time I was playing that much with JSON, so there was not that many things that I could copy or find on the internet, so I had to spend a lot of times debugging some of the devices, because those devices were not documented at that time, and I really like it. People hate it, and people are explaining, why don't you go with ESP? I know that it's working Bluetooth, but I just wanted to show that there are, with Home Assistant, you always have at least two options on how you can do things. Sometimes there are even more options available, and yes, there is ESP32 with BLE, and this one which I created for Switch, I created video for it, for the JSON version. And by the way, I do use, and I always, when people start, why don't you use Bluetooth? I use Bluetooth. I use Bluetooth to track my Xiaomi scale. I hate it. And I use Bluetooth to track my Xiaomi mosquito repellents. But the biggest difference, for example, for me is that I cannot control them. I can just track them unless my mobile app intercepts the signal first. If it intercepts the signal first and starts directly talking and controlling the device, my ESP Home will not receive any data and I will be left without data. So that's why if I would go for something, I would go for Zigbee, Wi-Fi, and then Bluetooth. But that's just my opinion, sorry. I cannot install software. Okay, let me tell you like that, Jeff. I can install software, but probably I would have a call from a security team and HR very soon. So I don't install software on my work PC. On this one, I have everything. Nook doesn't have Bluetooth on board, so but you can buy those tiny small dongles, which usually previously were the USB dongles for the mouse devices, for the whatever. They are very, very small. I think I have that Bluetooth dongle in my Nook to get the Bluetooth working there. Siegfried, yeah, I still have. I'm not. Don't get me wrong about saying that. I don't think that you are, but I'm not afraid about using the cloud services. I'm aware of the potential risks. When people talk about the privacy of data, sure, I'm more than watching out where I do something, what I do, what kind of services I use. I am not that good in security, but I would also say that I'm more proficient in IT security than average person. And I don't have anything wrong with cloud services. I avoid some, like plague, because I don't trust the companies that are behind them, and my trust in those companies unfortunately doesn't have to have any relation with the location of that company, because to be honest, I have less faith in some of the Western companies than I have no faith in some of the Eastern companies, if you get what I mean. So I don't have. I'm aware of the potentials, of the risks, of the possibility to lose that service. For example, Inston thing that happened. I'm not afraid of whatever government. I will not be naming any government because, let's be honest, all are doing the same. Intercepting streams from my cameras that are probably opened on internet. I try to protect my cameras so they don't have access to the internet, or that they don't declare themselves on the internet, and also to stop the traffic flow from internet towards them. So these are some common sense security things that I would do. But then again, I really do not have issue creating account for Switchbot. I don't have issue creating account for Shelly. I have issue with creating account for Facebook. I don't have issue creating account and tying with Google. I don't have issue with Microsoft. I don't have issue with the Twitter, for example. But I'm also aware how exposed my data towards Google is, and long time ago when I was thinking of what way to go, will I be building, for example, my own private cloud, I said no, I'm accepting the risk of going with the Google account for, you know, these services. So it's all a question. Okay, that's the great thing. The local only or local first is great because it will improve your quality of service, because local responses tend to be faster than cloud responses. Sure, if I would now activate this Amazon device, it still would need to do some kind of processing on the cloud, or a lot of processing, and also display me an ad, or Google device, same thing. But there are some things that can run locally, and they do look like they are doing even that stuff faster when it's local only. I really would like to have local only, but as I said, I don't mind having some services that are exposed. Yeah. For example, I had comment. Mark, you were right. I had comment from one person on the video for the AccuWeather. They had issue with the client data. All the companies have issues with client data. At the end, it's just the question of how good are they in hiding it or not leaking those incidents out. And some incidents can be sometimes that big that because of the government security issues you will never learn about them. You know, when some things escalate too much, it's better that we people are not aware of some things, and that's also normal thing. You know, don't start the panic. But the question was, why am I creating? The question is, it was not why I created. it was like, I wouldn't touch AccuWeather weather data because of their issues with privacy. I said, okay, you're right, they had issue with privacy, but there is no issue with privacy here. We are using the API. You have to register. In the registration form, you can put anything. You can call yourself Donald the Duck and give the address on the moon, and you will get the API key. And the only thing that not the only thing. There are a couple of things that they can see from the API request, but all those things are marginal in my terms. So they can sell that data. That, for example, I'm using fake Mozilla browser to access their API or something like that. I don't care about that data. And that has nothing to do with data privacy there, in this case, or leaks. So yeah, 5-millisecond MQTT message from press to CNH. Yeah. That's more than great. That's more than great. I don't have my network, I hate my Unify network. I saw a couple of videos and couple of tweets in regard to some people buying Unify devices. I hate them. I really hate them. And I will tell you why I hate it. The same reason why I hate Google Mesh. When it first introduced the Mesh router or replacement for the home routers, I was all in for that. I was like, wow, that's a great idea. And once again, as I said, I don't have issue with Google. I don't have issue with Amazon. At least now we are publicly aware that Amazon is using what you are speaking and talking with Alexa to display ads. This is something that we knew all along, but now there is a written proof that that's correct, which I don't know why would they say it's not. I don't know why would they say it's not the case, because we all know that that's the case. So yeah, I lost my thought. I will rewatch the stream and tell you what I wanted to tell you. The problem is that I do. Mark, same here. Yeah, my Amazon account is, I wouldn't call it a burner account, but it's very similar to burner account. One thing that when I started with this channel, I decided that every registration I do, I will do with a different. Every registration I will do with name of that service I'm registering to, and then my domain. So, for example, once again, I'll talk about Switchbot. They are not the sponsor of the stream. Nobody is sponsored. They don't have that money, baby. No, just kidding. Just for example, when I created an account for the Switchbot, my account is switchbot@beardedtinker.com. For the whatever service at, and I use that just to see who will be the first one. Thank you. Who will be the first one to leak my email address of all that services? So far, I have to say that they were really all good. There is not a single email from any company than the companies that I gave the email to on registration. So Unify. When Google released the router which would create a mesh network, it was really a dream for me, because I was still living in the old apartment and I had problem with the cabling. I had some cabling, but not enough of the cabling in the apartment, and to reach all the rooms to have better signal, I could use the mesh network. And I started reading, and I understand that this is, once again, don't get me wrong, it is a complement while also not the complement at the same time. I've seen that Apple approach, meaning that don't you users worry, because we've disabled 10 of the functionalities you would have on normal routers, because you will probably never need them. I cannot remember what that was. It was, for example, when they started, I think it was like a port forwarding or things like that. You simply couldn't do things like that on the Google Mesh router. And it was like me, wow. So if I would change and go for a Google device, I would then have to sacrifice some of the functionality, which can sometimes be okay. If I have something that I don't need, I can sacrifice that. For the Unify network, let me just tell you how my network looked previously. So I had enterprise grade access points, which means not home devices, but enterprise grade, which can scale up from one access point to creating very large campus networks. They had 6 antennas physical, each one. So they were really good devices, but they were stuck at, I don't know, Wi-Fi 3 or, you know, something. And after the then from the access point I had a switch. Switch was small Soho, but once again industry level Soho device, PoE switch. Then I had a router, and router was MikroTik, which is overcomplicated from what I need, but it also had a lot of nice functionalities. And I decided to go for the Unify because I really like the idea of having Wi-Fi 6. I bought the Wi-Fi 6 Lite. I hooked it up to my existing network, and at that time I had still all my previous access points working, plus the new one. And just to see, when I hooked it up, my Surface laptop connected to it, and you had pop up there, you are now using Wi-Fi 6 with maximum speed, something like that. It was like, wow, you know, my computer will be rocking for what? Web surfing. When I removed all the current access points and started using only Wi-Fi 6 from Unify through 2 access points. One is, so the print is finished. One is light and the other one is long range. So I have a light version here on the second floor and the low range on the lower floor. I've noticed that there are issues with the ESP home devices. Not, for example, ESP home devices such as this BLE server or BLE gateway that I'm using for the Xiaomi devices, but those devices that go into sleep, or WLEDs, or Shelly devices. Sometimes they lose connectivity and they cannot reconnect. They cannot roam, and they are stuck until I either restart my whole Wi-Fi network, which is the other pain which I will not be talking, that's my issue, or until I reboot the device. I've managed to tweak it. So for example, now I have lost I have lost connectivity to, let me check. Let's go to my main setup. Let me show you something. The print is done. The print is done. Look. Oh, yeah, no, unavailable. It's on the network, but I cannot control it. This is the WLED. It sometimes happens for this Shelly device. And this Shelly device is 1.5 or maximum 2 meters line of sight from Unify long range. Okay, but this can happen sometimes. This is not that frequent. But when I implemented ESP Home with the battery saving functionality, meaning the devices wake up, they wake up for 5 seconds, some, go to sleep, sometimes they had authentication problems, although everything was correct, the password was correct, everything was okay, and they were not able to fast enough connect to the network, which is something that I haven't had previous issues. So look at here. This means that this device did connect to the network, but it didn't. No. This means that device was detected by a unified network, it doesn't necessarily mean the device itself did authenticate. And as you can see from the sensor data, it didn't send anything, meaning there is an issue here. Same thing here, same thing here. This one is working normally. And in order for me to fix it, I have to manually go to each of those devices and press reboot couple of times. And after third or fourth reboot, it would then connect to the network and work without an issue for long period of time. So that's the problem. That's the issue. It is 2G. Then I wanted to replace the router and use Dream Machine or whatever, something from the Unified to have the whole system, the whole experience where I can both track the traffic, know how it enters, blah blah blah. And then I said to myself, but if I go with Unify, I will lose 50% of the functionality I currently have on the router side. It is a great device for my sister. It is okay device for my father. It is not, I would say it is not that good device for anybody that has to have something on top of the standard things. Be it routing things, firewall, rules, whatever. It is limiting in a way of what it allows people to do. And that's a good thing if you are my sister who doesn't know how to turn on the computer. And to have such a device where just you plug it in, you turn the power on and it works, it's great. But if you need to tinker and do something, it can be really terrible. If you go to the forums, for example, for the issues for the ESP32 has been something that people have been complaining for last year and a half. And you see firmware release and then you have immediately one or two guys saying, but you still have issues with ESP32s. Maybe they are ignoring, maybe we're just not focus group for them, targets market or something. Huawei AX3 Wi-Fi is to set up. I will not be changing it now. I've invested a lot. I've got a lot. Yeah, it's a lot. 2 access points. I bought their switch. Switch, by the way, is great. But in order to get full capability with switch, you also have to buy a router from them. That's not where I'm going. Netgear, check for deep sleep function of Wi-Fi. It's still experimental. I've disabled everything. I've disabled everything I can disable. I've tried everything I could find on the forums, and that's why I tell you that thing can be seen on a forum even before Wi-Fi 6 was released. So it's something that was known, and it said something like, I don't know, today it's version 60 of firmware or something like that, and they say the last version where it works without issue is 40 something, so a long time ago. This is something that used to work but is not working as it should anymore. Something like, for example, issues with authentication Home Assistant. I'm just kidding. Yeah, it's strange. I don't have with everything. Out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 devices, I only have it with 1, sometimes 2 devices. But the funny thing is that those 2 devices are also devices that are closest to the access point. For example, in this room where my youngest daughter room is, access point is on wall, and next to that wall is the ESP32. So I thought that maybe the signal was too strong, and it's like talking too close to mic. Sorry, where you can have a problem with the signal if device is too close. So I lowered the power. I moved away. But still there was issue with that device. And the second device is also, I think, closest to the other access point, but still not as close as this one. And it has at least, it's around 2.5 meters of line of sight with nothing between those devices. It's really strange. I see no problem with Linksys AC190 since I moved to Netgear. Yeah, as I said, I was previously using Linksys. I still have some access points from Linksys from way back. I think that it's like more than 36K speeds. But those are also the routers where I first exchanged the firmware for the Open WRT or whatever it's called, Open WRT, something like that. Router is not supported. I don't know what to tell you. Unify is supported, but at the end, I much more like the integration of MikroTik, which really is not that good, than the integration of Unify network in Home Assistant. For me, currently, the only reason why I have Unify integration is to check if devices are getting logged in on the network or not. Because if I see this state, the battery can be dead. But if I see this state, that I know that there is a problem with the Wi-Fi network. And on the other hand, I still have some devices, currently only one device, that is working normally. Yeah, so it takes around 12 hours after reboot of Home Assistant to get most of the ESP home devices, and then I just go from devices that didn't go and manually reboot them, restart them. 54GL for the Linksys. That was a good device. That was a great device. Huawei AX3 into Saveg, you are asking on how to edit in Home Assistant. I don't know if it's directly supported or not. Let's just kill this. Let's press here. Let's go there. Let's see this. Integrations. Huawei only LTE. Router and modem integrations allows you to LTE devices. So what are the Huawei LTE devices? I don't think that all of these are supported. Oh yeah, it is. Huawei, no, it's not. It's Huawei Wi-Fi AX3. It looks really nice. It really looks nice. If I would buy it, I would buy it for the looks. Definitely. Let's see. Anything new? No Raspberry Pis. Let's see. Device tracker. Nope, nope. 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 Nothing. Nothing. Have you tried this? Contency will offer it additionally this automatically discover LTE device which support and have UPnP. Yeah, but if you enable UPnP, you will not probably get anything except the speeds of the ports and things like that. Adding LTE to your console is done via user interface. Auto discover services. Nah. This is just the list. This is not the complete list, but probably it's not working. Yeah. Mark, I never tried that, or I forgot if I've tried. I'm thinking now of adding one additional or bringing back one additional access point that would be only used by the ESP devices, but it's really stupid. The problem is it worked previously on older access points. It worked. In the Unify, for compatibility reasons, I decreased all the values, included all the things I can do with all the warnings that I will not be getting maximum speeds, etc. You know, that for example, roaming will not be supported on Wi-Fi 6. I said, okay, ignore everything. I just want this to work, and I still wasn't able to get it working. Yeah. I not getting. I was supposed to. Yeah, I'm not. I'm using what I'm using. The MikroTik integration I have has problem. It's HSCS if I'm not mistaken. Let's check in HSCS. Oh, it's cooling down. Yep, print is done. What I wanted to check, HSCS integrations, MikroTik router. It really allows you a lot of things, but I don't know. I'm not sure if it's been maintained or not. For the official one for the MikroTik. Let's go to repository. There was an update, but the latest release. Oh, there was update 2.0. I had problem because it started to lose connectivity after some time, and for example, I would miss some of the things on the network. Let's see if I have it here. Where is it? Yeah, look at it. I don't know why. I simply don't know why. So, any questions? Let's see what we have here. Let's go here. Release notes. I don't know if I will be releasing video next Wednesday on the new version or not. There are some things I know that Mark or Matt Work has already released new video, so I don't know if I will be doing my own. I just don't want to copy for the purpose of copying, so that's not the problem. That's not the thing that I want to do. But yeah, there are not that many things. There are not that many things. There will not be that many things in the new release, but there are a couple of things that are really slick. For example, this here. So if you are, for example, using, if you don't use Nabucasa and would like to get Google Home integration, then the problem was that you would have to create, you would need public URL that would need to be publicly accessible, that would need to have valid SSL certificate, open port, and things like that. And what they did is they leveraged the Nabucasa service, and they would allow you to use without paid account. So even with free use, you can create authorization forwarders for services. So for example, if you would need to specify the URL, you would specify this to URL from Nabucasa, and that one would then redirect this to your system, so you wouldn't need to expose your Home Assistant. So that's a pretty genius thing. I know that pain I had with creating both Amazon and Google integrations with publicly available URL. So that should be a nice thing. I don't know why I never used scenes. So yeah, there are a couple of people I created I think for the last 5 or 6 releases I created this video. I think I will probably, if I do video, I will probably be looking at some of the specifics here. Maybe if I would talk about breaking changes. There are some things here, but I wouldn't say that they are not important. They are really important. For example, this in system health, which is, I didn't even know that this didn't exist. if you go to system health, now in the latest release, you have data for the recorder or database. You can see the size, latest data available in database, newest data, things like that, which is something that wasn't available previously. There is one possible big breaking change, depends on how you configured. We were talking with devs. This breaking changes for older people, and no, it's not older in terms of age, but older users of Home Assistant, because previously things were done in one way and later on they changed. So if you have breaking change that I'll show you now, then it means that you are the very old user of Home Assistant, and this is the MQTT breaking change, and it is really big breaking change. It will not break your system in the next release, but in, as far as I remember, in 3 more releases, this will break your system if you don't fix it. There is a, since we have communication now with devs, it really helps because we get some, I wouldn't say insider information, but explanation of how things are going, or why some things are done, or why some things are not done. And this may change, so I'm not sure. They still may do a script that will completely change the way this will be handled as a breaking change, and that's MQTT. If you had any sensors, platform, MQTT, and blah blah blah, this will be breaking change. So you have to change everything and reverse it. You will now have MQTT as a platform, and inside you have sensor and then the name of the sensor. The reason why is that currently, from what I remember, is that MQTT is the only remaining service that is using something. Was it earthquake? Or I had some, yeah. Alan, if you're still here, just tell me, was it earthquake or was it just like something in my head? So the reason is that they've changed everything, and the MQTT was left the only thing still using this way of creating, and it's very easy to convert it. And maybe they will even create a JavaScript that will do that automatically for you, but that's just the way it is. Do you prefer using supervised? Yes, I do. Yes, both are okay. Both are okay, but with all the tinkering that I do lately and everything, it's much easier to do everything if you have supervised version or OS version of Home Assistant. So if you can still use Docker, but there are some pains. For example, I know how painful it was for me to create secured instance of Home Assistant, because I was trying to secure my Home Assistant with SSL certificate. Then I had to secure all the add-ons which are in a separate Docker with SSL certificates. Then I always had problems because, for example, I couldn't put SSL on VS Code because none of the Docker images for VS Code would accept SSL connections. It was like always some kind of pain, and just like fighting and flowing against the flow. And it is really much easier to do it. But on the other hand, you can still use, especially if you're, for example, trying, and with all that changes to the that Home Assistant has brought lately, with easier ability to upgrade from Docker to Home, from Docker to supervised or to full-blown OS. And yeah, the main reason to have backup in Docker is to then take that image from Docker and then just import it in a supervised. Yeah. I still agree that there are a lot of things that you can do with the Docker version. I really prefer supervised version, but I still run some Docker versions for testing purposes. as I said, everything you can do in most of the things that you can do in supervisor, you can also do with the Docker version. Most, but it usually brings some tinkering, more reading, not works from the first try. But then in the end, it also allows you to learn some stuff that you wouldn't learn if you wouldn't do it that way. I would not learn more than half of the things that I know now if I wouldn't first use Docker. Yeah. Siegfried, that's true. Kevin, yeah, but as I said, it's very easy. You just need to reverse it. As you can see, everything stays the same. So you still have name, state, topic. You will just reverse from sensor, platform, MQTT. You will create one platform MQTT and then inside sensor and for example, binary sensor and whatever else you need to put. So I was thinking of maybe this is the video I will create. You know, couple of things like that you have to be careful, that are not that hard, but you have to prepare yourself because in a version or two we will have issues with that. Oh, spacing. Kevin. Spacing, that's the most important thing in YAML. Most important thing in YAML, unfortunately. I'm not that. Sometimes also aligning things can be an issue, but I think I've come to my terms. If you're not sure, just go with 2 spaces. If that's not enough, just add 2 more. That's it. Manda, yeah, why not? I had not 60 devices, I had a lot of devices without Home Assistant and they would still run great. This just adds additional layer and automation that I cannot have with devices that are separate. For example, I had Tado heating system, which was working great and still is working great. I had IKEA lights, which are working great and were working great. I had weather station, Lacrosse weather station, which was working great as a separate system. But at the end, it allowed me to, for example, if external temperature is climbing, stop the heating, and I don't know, at 7 a.m. if there is no movement, turn all the lights on. Those things were not that easy to do. You could still do it, but they were not that easy to do if all those devices would be separate islands with separate applications. Sure, I will now say probably something that I will lose any possible future sponsorships. At one point, I even used the if this then that, but long before they decided to change their pricing or operating models, I've moved away from them, and now I'm not sure if I would use them. There goes possibility to have any kind of sponsorship from if this then that. Yeah. Studio Code is great, but I also. Hey Kevin, thank you. We are approaching that magic number of 50 when I said that we will also be having member-only streams. I'm just thinking about times. I don't know where to put it. Studio Code is great, but you sometimes forget, you meaning I also, that Studio Code is not available on any operating system on every platform. So for example, my Raspberry Pi 3 system doesn't support Visual Studio Code and I have to work in File Editor. And although File Editor has also greatly improved, it's nowhere near as powerful as Visual Studio Code is. Yeah. Okay, so we are approaching 8 o'clock. I will have to wrap up the stream because I'm currently all alone at home. The rain has started and I will have to pick up my wife and daughter. They went out for a concert. I don't know. If you have any suggestion or want to point me in direction of any kind of HCS integration front end or we didn't even mention, and I only have at least, not least, maximum one of them installed. This is this Python part or automation part, or what it's called, NetDaemon Python AppDaemon. There are really a lot of things here, and the only component / Python script I'm using, I think, is Shell is Discovery, but version 1 on my production environment. I'm not sure if you can now add, if you've previously installed HACS and didn't select that you want to see them, if there is now option to add them in the system or not. I know that previously you needed to deinstall HACS, reinstall it to enable this automation part of the HACS, because I also think that it was not by default available. Yeah. Kevin, thanks for joining. I really appreciate it. Welcome to the club. And by the way, everybody who is YouTube channel member, don't forget that if you have Discord account and if you have joined Discord server, that you can link your Discord. In the Discord, you can link your YouTube account, and that way it will pull your channel memberships, and yeah, that's it. Now you will get a different color of the name, different ranking, one additional channel where we send recipes for cookies and things like that. Yapego, also thank you for joining. So yeah, next video for channel members will be as always on Tuesday. I'm still thinking and rethinking what I'll do with that video. And also I hope to have at least a couple of more packages that will arrive next week. So next weekend I can have a mail day video, which I know that a lot of people don't watch. I know that some really do like that videos. I really do like because I get some kind of inspiration and ideas. So that's the plan. Reolink video will probably be mid of June. I don't know. I think that's it. Let me catch up. Psych, definitely. I will be doing. Hi Rene. Thank you. I will definitely be doing more HACS videos, and I will try to through this to discover or find as much as I can, either like hidden gems or some hidden components that people don't use that much but can really help. It was very hard for me to find 5. I didn't want to go with. I was first thinking 5 integrations and 5 front ends, but that would be too long video, so I decided to go with 5 total. It's not easy because there are really a lot of other integrations that I could, without an issue or any guilt, put at top 5 and still would be great integrations. Teme, that's the one thing that I didn't do, then I started doing, and now once again I moved away. The problem is that I have it on this PC here, and I had it on my previous laptop. And when I got new one from the company, I didn't install it, although that's one of the few tools that I can install. And it's just become easier for me to work from within web UI. I get more or less everything the same. The knowledge that you have provided in the video. Thank you very much, Kevin. Thank you. No, there is no, but there is no. There is not. But I think that you need to go to the account. When you let me see, you have to click on the user settings on your user account, and then authorized. Oh my god, it's so slow. Because yeah. Just let me just check you. There is connections. Okay, in user settings there is connections, and there you can just select platform. There is Battle.net, Facebook, GitHub, PlayStation Network, Reddit, Spotify, Steam, Twitch, Twitter, Xbox, and of course YouTube. And when you connect to YouTube, it will open the YouTube window, ask you to allow syncing between those two, and later on in this Discord server you will get blah blah blah, whatever, something. but it's really not that hard. It's in under connections. Oh, where is it? Nice. And as I said, my biggest problem is that on my recording setup it works great. On my main setup it just doesn't work, and I've posted in the GitHub repository where I keep my main setup stuff, automations that Johnny created. Johnny also created some additional automations, I think they're on the Discord server, and he also created the PR pull request on the Twitch integration that will now include also the icon in the Twitch, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Wanda. The thing is that it all depends. As we mentioned previously, talking about privacy, is there is no right way or wrong way. Things that I do on my system, maybe somebody else will not even try because they wouldn't like on how I'm implementing some stuff. We were talking about, for example, SwitchBot. I'm using in my videos that I created, I was using API just to show that you can use the cloud API to pull data. But most of the people will go for the local Bluetooth integration. Whatever works, if you are happy with it. My wife would be happy if I would remove half of devices I have and bring back control of the lights to the switches. So yeah, it means that I failed in creating seamless smart home, and that's my issue, not her, because she as an end user sees this as a hassle and not something that is improving quality of life. So my home failed. Thank you all. It was really nice chatting with you all. I don't know if I will be, let me just check calendar. I don't think that I will be here. Yeah, on 11th. I have, oh yeah, a colleague from work has a birthday party and we will be out of town together partying, so there will be probably no stream. Rene, nice. You can create. I will create some kind of automation that starts shooting fireworks when streams start. So there will probably not be stream on the 11th, but then it will be probably week after that. I will be having a break next week. Thank God. On Monday we have national holiday, so we don't work on Monday. We work on Tuesday and Wednesday. On Thursday I am out with my department on team building, and because of team building we are free, or we will not be showing up in the office on Fridays. So we have only 2 days of work next week, and I'm really happy because last couple of weeks were really rough. Once again, thanks for joining. Thanks for everybody who became YouTube channel member. Thank you, Rene, once again, and I will be seeing you next time. Hope you have a pleasant weekend. Hope everybody who is local here will have pleasant extended weekends and much better weather than we have currently. It's raining, and as I said, it's currently plus 13 degrees, but it's still better than 35 degrees we have in forecast for next Friday. Everybody, I will be seeing you. Oh, by the way, yeah, of course, I forgot. Don't forget to click the like. Yeah, don't forget to click the like. I don't know why number of subscribers is not that important for YouTube, but number of views that lasted more than something, and number of likes is definitely something that YouTube is really appreciating, and I appreciate too. Thank you very much. Bye everybody, and see you next time.